Hello, everybody. So Eli Mystical, this dude with his like Don King wannabe hair, giving Don King a bad name. He's like a political analyst. These people are nuts. Why do these people get such a big platform? Why? YouTube was like, that guy with the mohawk and the T-buck in the background. We've got to watch out for him. But yeah, you let this guy have a mainstream television show talking to people. And he's going to use a certain word in repetition, like a lot. And the reason why is because it's a Marxist tactic whenever you want to instill a message into your base who is susceptible to your propaganda. You have to repeat, repeat, repeat. Watch this.
Walk me through why you see this ruling as deeply dangerous, not for people who are birthright citizens, but much more broadly for every American.
Imagine Donald Trump wants to do something illegal to you, Ali Velshi. Imagine that he wants to murder you. Imagine that he and Stephen Miller release an entire policy explaining about how they can murder Canadian journalists who are working in America because they're taking the jobs from real American journalists, right? So he's going to murder you. So you, Ali Velshi, you go to court. You go to court in the Southern District of New York and you say, like, I don't think this murder thing is constitutional. It's clearly illegal. It's clearly constitutional. Donald Trump and Pam Bondi and Stephen Miller shouldn't be able to have a plan to murder me. And the court says, you're right, Ali Velshi. There's no way Donald Trump is allowed to murder you. We're going to have an injunction. We're going to stay the executive order saying that he's going to murder Canadian journalists. And so you're like, great, awesome. And you go home. And then Pat Kiernan shows up and he's like, what about me? I'm also a Canadian. Mm-hmm. Ashley Banfield shows up. I'm also a Canadian. What about me? And the court's, well, I can't help you because Ali Velshi is the one who sued. So Pat Kiernan, if you don't want to be murdered, you have to launch your entire own lawsuit in the Southern District of New York again to make sure that Donald Trump doesn't murder you. And while the Supreme Court is deciding who the Ali Velshi can't be murdered injunction applies to, guess what? Donald Trump starts murdering people. That is the upshot of yesterday's decision. Donald Trump has declared that he is going to do an unconstitutional thing. And various people have been able to secure the court's order that he cannot do the unconstitutional thing to them. And basically what the Supreme Court has said is that, well, you said something about Jimmy, but you didn't say anything about Consuela, so we're...
Why is it always Consuela? Has he watched one too many episodes of Designing Women? You're like, how does he know this? Yeah, I might have watched one too many episodes of Designing Women. But it's all pertaining to this whole Supreme Court thing, which is talking about the fact that Trump has the power to deport illegals and do all this, stuff that's actually constitutional, and it's going to go into the realm of understanding the actual dynamics behind birthright citizenship. So we'll see what the outcome is there. What you're looking at here is, both sides do this, by the way, just to be fair to the game. We get upset when the Supreme Court rules against stuff that we're in favor of, and then we like it when they rule on stuff that we're in favor of. So this is kind of normal, but the way that we understand things and move forward is a little different than how the left does it. Right now, they've got an unfavorable ruling. So what they're going to do is spread misinformation and lies. They're going to facilitate their ability to propagandize people in a bad way, to create an ideology that will be violent and just caked in all kind of chocolate flavored, terrible historical remnants. Yep. So anyways, on the other hand, like, Randy Travis. I get Randy Travis and Travis Tritt too confused. Anyways, CNN had to report this. This is pretty epic, but the gas prices are at a 4-year low. Even though we were having conflicts abroad and things, they had to report on this.
New this morning. It's pretty good news for millions of drivers expecting to hit the road for the 4th of July weekend. CNN's Matt Egan is here. Gas prices They're pretty low.
Yeah, John, they're pretty low and they're trending lower. And this is good news because it should be relatively cheap to fill up your tank this holiday weekend. So gas.
That's not very often, too. Most of the time, the gas prices spike for some reason during holiday season. They say, oh, well, it's the uptick in vehicle use, and so the supply and demand and this, that, and other. There's always some rhetoric behind it. But we all know it's the government's way of price gouging.
Is projecting that the national average is going to be $3.10 to $3.15 a gallon. That is significantly cheaper than $3.49 a gallon last 4th of July. This translates to Americans spending about $500 million less on gasoline this holiday weekend versus last. And when we look at the trend, you can see that gas prices, they spiked 3 years ago. We're looking at almost $5 a gallon on 4th of July, right? That was a nightmare. Trending lower since then. In fact, this would be the lowest on 4th of July for gas since at least 2021, perhaps even since 2020 during COVID. And of course,
so this graph here, just to kind of break this down, and you probably already know this, but we like to talk. At 2022, whenever it was almost $5 a gallon, that was when all of the Keystone Pipeline stuff was pretty much finalized and shut down. That was signed in executive order as soon as Biden went into office without auto pay, and he signed that in front of us. Like, I signed Keystone Pipeline because of climate change. And my butt's been wiped and all that crazy stuff. And, what happened there they tried their best to control these prices. 2020 was the lowest it was because that was right at the end of the Trump era, and we had production going on. He was refilling oil refineries or oil reserves at I think it was $70 a barrel, and they were fussing at him about that. And then Biden had to refill it it was like $150, or it was way up there. Anyways, 2022 it spiked to $480. 2023 it started to drop under the Biden regime because he was selling off all of our reserves. It started really hitting, really flooding the market with reserve oil, that's strategic reserves for our military capabilities in case we have some kind of weird stuff going on. And then, 2024, it kind of went up a little bit. Mad at Trump. He's in office. Why is it going up? Because this is a large ship, man, and you got to turn it around. You have to take a wide circle it takes to get it back around the other way. And now we're trending down, and this is even, and it would be better if it wasn't for the fact that right before Biden left office, he signed in an executive order, a thing where it might not have been an executive order. I think it was somehow codified. He got this somehow or another code. It deals with the fact that we're not allowed to drill in other anymore on our coastal. We've got plenty of oil underneath the ground. They're not allowed to drill. And so that's kind of putting a cramp on things. And oil wells only produce for a certain period of time before they close off and have to be re-drilled. In the same area, there's plenty of oil there, but they just, they do quit producing for many reasons. And so that's our problem now. So we're still overcoming that and coming down slightly, and that's a good sign.
People are making more money on average than they did back then. So on an inflation-adjusted basis, gasoline is swallowing up a smaller and smaller chunk of paychecks. And some drivers in some states are seeing even bigger drops in the price of gasoline, including in Michigan, where it's about 42 cents cheaper to fill up than it was this time last year. Pennsylvania, Illinois, Nevada, a number of other states seeing significant drops. And, it's not
a key word, too, by the way. He said that people now are making more money than ever because of inflation. They had to raise the minimum wage. And if the products that you buy come down in cost and you still have a high minimum wage payment, you won't see them reduce minimum wage because that's not how it works. But what you could do is, because you're showing a strength in the economy, is to lower interest rates, which Dookie Butt that controls that will not do, because that is a globalist effort to crash this economy. So it's the final nail in the coffin of destruction of this country. And things are getting real bad in Portland, by the way. Me on Facebook, I like to troll sometimes and say things and all that stuff. Look at I don't know if you can see this or not. Oh my God. Let's see here. Where's it at? On the road. This lady here is mad because she lives in a neighborhood that she just, is Portland, but it's like abnormally quiet. And so what's happening is she's mad at these Antifa people because they won't stop making all this noise and stuff, and she's had enough. So she's going to go out there and she's going to give them a piece of her mind. I'm going to find the article here because, of course, while I'm doing this, it's decided not to work. So, but get ready for some strong language. It's going to be pretty. She's upset, and this is Antifa's like they don't obviously Antifa and BLM, they're supposed to be for Black Lives That Matter. No, it's not.
Turn that shit down! It's midnight! I would turn it down. I would love to. You just have to ask nice, and I'm being nice even though.
Nah, she's getting berated by a chick with that's got her zipper tits. And I think that's what we got there. Somebody who has. These people don't have to work, by the way.
You're screaming at me. Fuck you! I'm coming back every night. I'm destroying and wrecking your shit.
So, like I said, this is the demographic of people that Antifa and BLM are supposed to be advocating for, and she just wants to get a little sleep. The street's got a whole bunch of F words all in it. Terrible, vulgar. Kids are walking around during the daytime and see this. You could. It's hard to see on the camera, but it's really bad.
Turn it down. We the people need sleep.
There's a man with all decked out with his Antifa gear.
You heard what I said, bitch!
Talking to us calmly would be a hell of a lot better than...
yourself!
Go fuck yourself!
You colonialize your fucking ass, bitch!
I don't give a fuck. Clean up your ass.
Come on, I'm ready to go!
That's real nice. They were talking about berating and harming a minority group. That's pretty. See, this is what Antifa is. They're not anything but just a brown coat set of military and a paramilitary for the deep state government to destabilize communities. They with the Summer of Love and all the places like in Minnesota that burnt down. BLM especially burnt down a bunch of black-owned businesses, and they did it on purpose. They knew exactly what they were doing.
I'm telling you to shut the fuck up! I'm sleeping!
Hey guys,
Who the fuck do you think you are?
let's let another name off.
Mr. Miyagi says, If I was that lady, I would, I don't know. How do you handle that? But you can see that nobody likes these people as far as like, she's probably begging. I wish those were some illegals. I'd call ICE on them right now. Anyhow, so yeah, that's where we're at. But CNN having a report that Trump's doing a good job. And Mystical, Elon Mystical, what a retard. All right, we're going to get out of here. Take it easy.